Good morning, everyone. My name is Arun Kumar Santana Gopalan. Today, I'll be showing you a brief demo on how to use the Jenkins with our Tibco stack in order to um, deliver the continuous integration and continuous delivery for agile development using Tibco technologies. So, when you look at the typical phases which is involved in a software development lifecycle of Tibco, um, so basically, it involves coding. I'm not going to talk about um, specifically on what goes on in the coding phase, but I'm just going to talk about what happens when the developer finishes the code and then checks in the code, and what are all the things which happens after that, which can be automated seamlessly with the quality in mind using the Jenkins Tibco accelerator for Jenkins. So as you can see in the slide, um, these are all the unique phases which have abstracted, typically used in a software development lifecycle. So first is the developer checks in the code, and then we need to build the code, or EAR, along with the dependencies. So if you have project libraries or custom Java implementation, you want a seamless way where a tool can actually gather all these dependencies, build in the project, and then automatically execute the unit testing, and at the same time also see how well the unit code is being unit tested. So I'm going to touch each one of those as a part of the demo, and after that it goes to the development. And then once it goes to the development, you do a typical integration test, and after that's complete, you want to move the code from different environments like QA, pre-prod, and production. So how does the Tibco Jenkins Accelerated Framework enables customers to uh, totally automate these processes by having several checkpoints within each of those automated tasks, um, so that the quality is not compromised. Okay, so the first and foremost is you can actually configure Jenkins to go against the source code management system. So either it can be a pull based, or it can be a manually triggered process. So it's up to the enterprise on what um, mechanism they wanted to choose. The first, going with the typical supported source code systems are the usual suspects like IBM Rational, and then Microsoft Team Foundation, Subversion, GitHub, everything is supported out of box within the Jenkins framework. All you have to do is just point to the repository on where the Jenkins needs to pull for those changes. Once that's done, then you can actually configure Maven to make sure that the dependencies of which are required for your projects are being handled. So basically, it's your traditional build EAR. You can, what I've done as a part of the demo is I've used the deployment accelerator to showcase that. And then once that's done, then you typically wanted to make sure that whatever the code was deployed is being unit tested properly. So here again, Tibco provides the TibUnit framework, which is a seamless way of generating unit testing artifacts for Tibco Business Works. So you can actually automate the process of executing the unit test created by the developer as and when the build is complete. Once that's done, it's not always true that you can assume the developer has comprehensively created the test case using the TibUnit framework. Remember, TibUnit is a framework. It's up to the developer on how comprehensive he creates those use cases. So what we also did was, as a part of this TibUnit, Munish Dadwal at Southwest has enhanced the TIB unit that was initially developed by Tony, and added in coverage reports which can be generated and presented in the unified Jenkins admin UI. So what it basically does is, let's say that I have 5 processes within my project. So let's say that the developer only had created unit test cases for one process. So the coverage report will catch the fact that the developer only created the unit testing suite for one process out of the 5 processes which was initially in the project. So in that way, it also acts as a forensics to make sure that the developers are doing their jobs. And then, by using the utility provided by our partner, MakeDoc. Now, the current version of MakeDoc comes up with the quality assurance module, which is interesting. So the basic configuration, what the COE team can do is they can actually put some rules in play to catch all those usual things which can go wrong in the Tibco development of business works. The typical things are hard-coded values for connections, and then no value populated for the timeout JMS activities and all those things. So all these things can be configured as simple expat rule-based rules, which I'm going to talk briefly as a part of the demo. And then at the same time, they also have Java APIs where you can actually write more comprehensive code quality checks. For example, I can actually write a rule to validate that the placement of confirm activity within the process. So let's say that you have a business logic which you're updating the database, and then you have a confirm before updating the database. Then you can catch all those things and also code certain patterns which are of best practices. We're going to talk briefly on that. And then after that, how do I actually migrate my code automatically across different environments by having each checks in those migration process? Typically, when I deploy it to the development, I want to make sure that I basically run the integration regression test, which can be modeled using your favorite testing suite. For this purpose, we are using SOAP UI to make sure that everything is working fine. You can use HP's Q Quality Center, so there's a plugin for that too, so which can be invoked. And at the same time, once you deploy the code to the QA, you can have a functional regression test executed again in SOAP UI or your favorite testing suite, which is supported within the enterprise, and then make sure that it's validated. So each of those steps doesn't proceed until these tests are executed and are successful. And after that, you can actually publish this binaries either in Nexus or in your version control or Artifact Factory, wherever, so that the operation teams can take it from here. So one of the things what Jenkins also allows is the task can be automated, or it can be a manually triggered one. So in this case, the development team or the application team is responsible for getting the code till QA, and all these things can be automated, provided all these tests which are in place is executed and passed successfully. If not, and then after that, they can hand over the code which is ready for the operation people to take, and then promote it to pre-production and acceptance test or production environment. So you can take even further in the pre-production. Let's assume that you have went through the formal process of performance tuning and then optimizing your application. Now you can even automate your basic performance testing on test testing once the code gets deployed in the pre-production environment. For example, I can say that at the minimum, I know that the previous code was able to sustain 150 messages a second. So what you can do is you can run a load UI script. You can configure a project so that as and when the code changes are happening in different phases, you always can actually guarantee that the current code supports the minimum performance which was tested with the previous code. I'm gonna show you that too. So that's pretty much what the Tibco Jenkins accelerated framework allows enterprises to do. So with that being said, I'm gonna quickly jump and then show you the quick demo. So right now I've configured um, the Jenkins to work with different software modules, including Tibco. So let's say that, in a typical software cycle, you log a bug, and for all demo purpose, I'm actually using Jira for creating a bug. So let's say that let's create a enhancement on my currently deployed. So let's call this as a new feature. I'm going to call this as change of algorithm for pricing. Say it's critical, and I'm just gonna put all the typical things when they wanted to do and all those things. I'm not gonna touch much on this. Okay, so now an issue is being created in the Jira. So now as a developer, I come in, and this is a project I'm working in. Just for the demo sake, I'm just keeping it simple. So let's say that it was not 21, and then the calculation is 23, and I'm saving it. So I then come down to my SVN, and I see that this process has been updated. So now I go to SVN and commit those changes. So in here, I'll say that the ID is 3. I'm gonna say new Jira feature ICS 3 has been implemented. Alright, click OK, and then now I configured my build job to be polling for every minute. So let's give it a minute or so. Now what Jenkins is going to do is it's going to automatically pick up the changes which I committed to the SVN, and it's going to start my build process automatically. What I also did was, while that's kicking in, also configured the the unit test and then the functional test. And this is basically the SOAP UI project where I created all the functional tests, and this is a unit test script. The reason I just did it for one process is to showcase the code coverage aspect of it, which is part of the demo. All right, so now you see that this particular job has kicked in for the changes what I've done. So one of the cool things about this is I can exactly look at the things what are being executed. So everything stays in one unified interface. So so I don't have to actually go and click on multiple things in order to see what is the status of my release. So one of the things I also configured is there's a build pipeline plugin which comes in with Jenkins. As you can see, I have actually configured my build pipeline uh, to start with build process. The build process also includes the unit testing aspect of it. And then after the unit testing is successful, it's going to deploy to the integration test, and then it's going to deploy to QA. So during the deployment to our iTest, it's going to execute the typical integration regression script, which we are going to see. And at the same time, on QA, it's going to execute the functional regression step, which we have configured it as a part of the project in SOAP UI. And then after that, it's going to actually deploy it on QA, and then it's going to actually wait on pre-prod. So I'm just going to mimic that too. So when I look in here, so a couple of things, okay? So I don't have to actually go in for SVN to see what exactly was changed. As soon as the developer has actually put in the comments, the Jira automatically pulls all those comments about the changes, and then for this, and then I can even go and look at what process is actually being changed. So I can go to that detail. So I precisely know what was changed in the current build from the SVN, so that I don't have to actually go to the SVN to get all those details. All right, and at the same time, if I look in here, okay, so I'll see I can exactly see the test results. So this was the test results from my TIB unit, and then I can precisely see what was the test cases being executed, and it's going to tell me whether it's going to be passed or not. And at the same time, I also have a coverage report. Okay, so basically what it means is I can go back and see um, what was the coverage report on this particular project. Okay, so if I go back and check here, the designer, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 processes which are part of this project. And then when I go back in here, I can see that one was executed fine, but I mean there are 5 methods, which is processes in this case, which are not executed at all. All right, so when I click in here, and then at the same time it lists all the processes which was not part of the unit testing, and at the same time it also lists out, okay, the activities. So let's say that I have 10 activities, so you can even precisely see how many activities are executed in your unit test path. So let's say that I only have tested it for happy path, and then I didn't consider alternate paths. You can catch all those things in here. Okay, so that's the code coverage aspect of it. Okay, and then if I go in back here, let's log into the admin. I don't know. Give me 1 second. Okay. Another cool thing what we did as a part of this, I have to use IE. Is when I come in here, uh, for the demo purpose, I created different folders, but in reality, you'll have different domains. So you can configure the deployment accelerator, which is a straightforward thing. So one of the things is the package version also carries the release version and the build version. The 78 is the build version, and then 78 is the package version from the SVN, and then the 47 is the current build version. Okay, so I can precisely track what version of the code is being deployed, and it all aligns it with the SVN, which is the origin of all these revisions. Okay, So that's one thing. Let's see. And then I can see from the comments saying that this is for the Jira ID this. Um, so I can actually go back and see what the Jira ID is. So if I click in here, I can, it takes me automatically to that dashboard. Okay. Um, I was having the license for the make doc up until today, and today was the last day. So like I said, I'm just gonna show you the make doc. Um, so this precisely generated all the documentation for me. Okay, the typical documentation involves the usual make doc stuff, right? So now the operational people need not actually go and download the code in order to find out what exactly is happening. So they can actually click on this documentation and then precisely see what is the actual flow of the code to enhance the to enhance all those debugging things. So even I can see what is the mapping tree and all those things from here. And then at the same time, I can also see the cross references between destinations. So I can see which are being used, which and what processes are using it. And at the same time, you can actually, this is the hard coding, the quality assurance aspect of it. It also points out, okay, yeah, so the host name is hard coded and it catches all those things so that before getting this code to production, you can immediately catch it much before then it's too late. Okay, so that's the doc quality which is provided as a part of the make doc. Um, okay, and then let's see how far we are through. So now that I mean it's completed deployment in iTest, and then let's take a look at the QA. So now I can look at the test results. Okay, so this is basically the test case which was executed as a part of the SOAP UI which I've configured. Okay, as you can see, all these things can be managed by the application team, and anything after this, if you wanted to hand it over to the operation team, you can configure security within Jenkins, wherein a specific user set is only capable of executing this. So for this demo, I didn't configure any security per se, but I can do that. So now I can say that, okay, go ahead and build the do this in pre-production, mimicking the operation team. So one of the things what this does is it deploys the code onto the pre-production and automatically executes the performance testing using load UI, and it also generates the reports out of the performance testing, so that now I have a unified view of everything pertaining to the release management of my code, and this is a repeatable process. So in this way, I guarantee that the quality is assured, and also I'm saving a lot of time by automating all these typical tasks which are involved in a typical software life cycle. And that's pretty much it. So let's wait until so it's currently deploying the code. So you can exactly see all those things, what's been happening. All right, so now it's executing the load UI. Yep, it's executing all these things. I just put 100 samples. So as soon as it completes the 100 samples, it's going to generate the report, and then it's going to complete the all right. And that's pretty much what I have. So I can click on this uh, to see the performance report. So if you look in here, so I can precisely see um, this is the typical SLA trend. And then what I can even go is I can see the average, the 90th percentile, and then the median. So in the beginning, it is always it took a lot of time, but as and when the engine progresses, everything is smoothened out. So that's pretty much it, folks. I mean, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, but